Well, hello, hello, hello. It's Dr. Sasheen. Welcome to Women in Transition podcast. If you are listening to me in your favorite podcast channel, thank you for listening. If you're joining me on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please hit that like, subscribe, and share. So, welcome to Women in Transition podcast. We are going to talk about the price is not coming down. What is the number that you need to start thinking about to make sure that you can live a life that is free and unencumbered as possible as you begin your next best chapter of life? Gen X, you know I'm talking to you. And today we're talking about some hard and cold facts about what does it really look like to live longer in a world that's changing, where the price is not coming down for anything. And I mean anything. The days of cheap anything are pretty much been over for a long time. There's been some fiddling in the markets to keep the illusion of cheap goods floating around. Timu, I'm looking at you. But the reality is that for every cost savings for cheap goods, there's a concurrent ecological cost or financial cost in other places. So the era of cheap goods is over. It's been over for a long time. But more importantly, today I really want to talk about what it looks like to know the numbers that you need to survive and thrive in your next best chapter. Because I think financial conversations are really difficult to have, and we don't have them well because we're scared of what the numbers will tell us. I want to say before I start this conversation with you that I am not a financial analyst. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not giving you financial or legal advice. I'm asking you to ask some hard questions, do some hard financial work, but I am not offering you any financial solutions. Please keep that in mind. But I will give you some suggestions and places to look to get information and tell you some things to stay away from, because there are a lot of people out there who will gladly take a look at your financial future with you with a hand in your pocket while they're sending you into a course that's not going to do anything for you. And I don't want you to do that, especially because as the rate of things, as time collapses and the rate of AI slop, as it's being called, proliferates, it's going to become harder and harder to tell who's real, who's really got your best interest at heart, who really knows what they're talking about, and who is just hiding behind an AI generated pretty picture, but in point of fact can't really do anything except take your money. Right. So you're gonna learn to vet better over the course of the next few weeks as we talk about transitioning into our next best chapter in ways that allow us to have a good quality of life and not be um, really just a slave. And I use that word in a very specific way, but a slave to a system that has already said that it's willing to chew you up and spit you out. If you didn't check out my last episode yet, you really should go back and listen to it. I talk about the rising age of Social Security, and I start this conversation back there asking you, Social Security age is going up. So your ability to retire at a certain age and pull your social security is going up. How much longer do you intend to work to get maybe just enough money to survive? Those are questions that I really think that as a Gen X generation, we need to be asking ourselves. Social Security is not going to be there for everyone. We might be the last generation to have it. The millennials might be the last generation to have it. Who, between those two, who knows? Gen Z is not banking on it, and Gen Alpha doesn't know what the heck we're talking about. So let's talk about what the numbers are that you need to be thinking about right now. What do I mean by the numbers and by the price is not coming down? Well, it used to be that your mortgage or your rent was no more than maybe a third of your monthly income. And it is now three quarters of many people's monthly income, your rent and your mortgage. Think about that for a minute. Look at your finances and see the percentage of your finances that is going out the door for rent or mortgage. Okay. That number is not going down. We have a housing crisis and we have lots of empty houses. But you know what? The cost of those houses are not coming down. Rents are rising every year. Sometimes they're rising multiple percentage points. Um, and people are getting priced out of being able to afford affordable housing anymore. But I'm not going to talk about that today. That's for another podcast today and somebody else's podcast. What I want you to look at are the numbers that are sustaining you right now. Because as you think about your life, and the way you're living it today, January 2026, whenever you're listening to this will be relevant, but I'm in January, it's the year 2026. Look around your life right now. And before you start crunching the numbers that I'm going to ask you to crunch, just look at your life. Look at the things that bring you comfort, the place where you live, the car that you drive, if you drive, or however you get around, right? The food that you eat, the heat, the light, the warmth, the shoes, the clothes, the sweaters and jackets, all the things that are bringing you comfort and ease at this point in your life, and the things that are necessary, right? The washer and dryer, the water, all of those things have a price tag attached to them. We pay them and we don't really think about it. But I want you to start thinking about maintaining and sustaining a life that allows you to have this level of comfort if you also have to continue to work at it for the next 30 years, because as the price of everything goes up, you're going to have to work more and more, right? More and more potentially to maintain what you have, not to grow it, not to level it up, but just to maintain it. So having an idea of what that maintenance looks like is very important, especially when I am team, I want you to retire early. I want you to start thinking about, especially if you've been laid off, if you're a Black woman and you've been laid off, and we can see the path and before us, at least in the United States, of opportunities not being as open to us as they used to be, calling a spade, the idea of relocating your life to another place where you are much more valued, where you're much more appreciated, and where you can live similarly or better than what you have right now should be appealing. I hope it's appealing to you. I want it to be appealing to you. I'm not just talking to Black women, but you know that I am talking to Black women. And so I want you to think about, if you stay in the life that you have right now, how much does that cost you? All of it. So I'm breaking it down into three categories: life stuff, health stuff, living stuff. I know, so scientific. But you know what? As a person who is a scientist, um, sometimes you just need to keep it simple to get the point across. In your life stuff bucket, this is your rent and mortgage, your car insurance, upkeep, or car services, because even if you don't have a car, you got to get around to get certain things done. Um, so whether that's car insurance, plus that upkeep, car services, Uber, Lyft, Be My Driver, whatever service that you might use. If that's part of your monthly, you got to factor that in. Utilities, water, lights, gas, trash, housekeeping, maintenance, house upkeep if you own a home, groceries, whether you go out and buy them or have them delivered, doesn't really matter. You still got to have groceries in your house, right? And then personal upkeep, the things that you have to do to take care of your person: buy new clothes, new shoes, get your hair done, if you're in a job that requires a certain uniform, like all of those things. So that's your life bucket. When I say your life bucket, is literally the stuff of life, the stuff that keeps your life moving one day to the next. Then you have the health bucket, okay? Your health bucket are things like your health insurance costs. And by cost, not just the monthly premium, but also the copays that come along with that, right? Any out-of-pocket expenses that you have to pay for doctor visits. And we don't tend to go to the doctor each month or every week. But as we get older, the body requires different kinds of maintenance, right? And so there could be monthly doctor visits, but under health, you want to think about insurance, anything that you pay for: glasses, contacts, braces, dentures, right? All of that stuff that needs to be paid for. Like, I wear contacts, and so every 90 days, I have to order a new set of contacts because I have different prescriptions in each eye. So I have to order a double order of contacts. So I try to order as far out as I can so that I'm not spending a ton of money all the time, but I need them. And so I have a 90-day supply of contacts for each eye. That's part of the health costs that I have to pay, that I want to pay, so that I don't have to go back to wearing glasses and I don't want to have surgery. Um, If you have any conditions that require medications and treatments, those costs should be in your healthcare bucket, whether that's costs now that you are paying or costs in the future. And when I say treatments for conditions, it may be cosmetic, it may be life altering, it may be due to illness, it may just be things that you want to have done or you have, whatever the case may be, you're going to have to pay for it. And if there's a maintenance cost associated with that, you need to figure that part in because, again, we could live another 30 years. We could live another 30 years. And if we could live another 30 years, like if you are in your late 40s, 30 years only puts you in your late 70s. If you're in your early 50s, 30 years only puts you in your early 80s. So you could be on the planet another 30 years easily, right? And so this health bucket is really important, especially as you think about what you might want to do as you get older or things that you might want to take care of. I had a doctor's appointment just this past week with my primary care physician. We're talking about many possible things that I may want to do, right? And some of that stuff is bound to whether or not my insurance will cover it. And and we had some interesting conversations about how in some other countries, the things that I may want to have done, um, I could pay out of pocket and it would still be cheaper than trying to see if my insurance would cover it here. So that's why I really want you to to sit down with your health bucket and not just look at conditions that you might have today, but what are things that you could have tomorrow that might need to be paid for, or that are aesthetic things that you might like to do or might like to have done that help your quality of health life be better, right? So factor in those costs. And remember, you're looking at your life today and asking yourself, how do I maintain? So all of these things should already be in your life or getting ready to come into your life, and you're going to want to maintain them so that the quality of your life is good for however long that we're for however long we're on this side of the grass, right? And then there is the living bucket. This is everything else. Oh, there's a net. This is everything else. This is your travel, you're eating out, you're going to the theater, the opera, going to sporting events. This is education for yourself, for your children. This is hobbies that you love and you don't want to have to give up and maybe want to lean into even more, right? This is everything that makes your life good. Okay, you have the life bucket, which is all the basics. Then you have the living bucket, which is all the good stuff that makes the life bucket worth it. Okay, so when you start factoring these three buckets and you start looking at the numbers, you start crunching the real numbers of here's what I spend in my health bucket every year. Here's what I spend in my life bucket every year. Here's what I'm spending in my living bucket every year. And I like this. This is a good quality of life for me. This is a good standard of living for me. To maintain this, I'm going to need my income or sources of income coming in, whether that's through a job or investments or retirements or Social Security or whatever. I'm going to need those things to equal X amount of dollars. If you don't follow, if you want to follow a couple of channels that talk about this actively, I've mentioned them before. Our Black Utopia, I'll link to them again, and Our Rich Journey, two channels that I suggest that you look at in terms of understanding the numbers actions, the place where these numbers come from and calculating these numbers. And it's important to know how much money, right? The big green goblin, how much money does it take to sustain my current life? And then how much money is it going to take to keep this current life? Because you have three options. You might just want to keep surviving. Don't recommend it, but you could just be want to keep surviving. But if you want to maintain and not lose, then you've got to know how much your life is going to cost. And ignoring the fact that it's costing more and more isn't going to help you at all. So today we're taking our heads out of the sand and we're looking at the black and white numbers on the page or spreadsheet or however you choose to look at it. And we're finding out if the number is one that we can actually maintain and sustain for 10, 15, 20 years. Because I don't know about you, Social Security be damned. I don't know about you, but I don't intend to work till I'm 72, 75, just so I can pull out Social Security that may or may not. may or may not even be there. And we already know that it's going to be a fraction of what you need, not just want, but need to survive. Okay. So I highly recommend that. In fact, I'm going to link to a video of that Our Black Utopia just did about how to retire, how to get out of the rat race if you don't have a pension, which I think is an excellent video. Again, I'm not offering financial advice. They are not offering financial advice, but they're talking about their own personal experience and how they did it, how they got out of the hole, how they had negative equity and then were able to turn that around. And I think those kinds of stories where they give you real information, show you real information, crunch real numbers, allows you to have some hope that maybe if you are in a negative moment at this point, you can still get there. And you don't have to be in your 20s. Like you don't have to just be in your 20s and 30s to be able to start the journey to financial independence. Financial independence, gonna say that one again, to financial independence, but also to a better quality of life. Okay. So, Our Rich Journey, Our Black Utopia, I'm gonna link to both of those channels. So, as I was saying, to maintain, you're gonna need a certain number. But remember, the price is not coming down. The price is not coming down. So the price in 2026 is not gonna be the price when you need it to come down. It's not gonna be the price in 2036. And guess what? That's only 10 years from now. It's not going to be the price in 2046. That's only 20 years from now. It's not going to be the price in 2056, which is 30 years from now. So since we know it's not going to be the price, and we know inflation is not going to miraculously disappear, and that people are going to miraculously start lowering prices, and if they do, we're in trouble, right? If industries start bottoming out too badly, we're in trouble. Then ask yourself the next question, which is, what do I need to do now to ensure that I can stay comfortable for the next 30 years and not have to work like I can't ever take a break? What are some of the things that I need to put into play, not into place, into play, so that they begin to bring back to me things, income, dividend checks, um, royalty checks, all those things, put those things in play so that as I'm marching through the next 30 years, because we're living those 30 years every single day, I don't find that my life needs to be harder, getting harder every year because the price is not coming down. And my standard of living, I'm just trying to stay where I am. I'm not even trying to level up. I'm just trying to stay where I am. And that gap between the price and my standard of living is getting a little hard. To fill that gap, you're going to have to make some decisions. And that's where I want you to assess. I want you to get your numbers, get those written down, understand where you're playing, what fields you're playing on, and then assess. Here's where I am today. Here's what I have. Um, my situation is mine. We're all very unique in how we're going to play this out. Your family looks very different from my family, looks very different from this family over here. We have different resources, we have different assets, we have different understanding, we have different know-how, we have different problems to solve. But here's where the hope comes into this, the silver thread that's going to pull all this together. But we all know how to solve problems. And so right now, if you look at your numbers and you realize that in order to maintain this standard of living, I'm going to need to, that's the problem that you have to solve. And you know what? You've solved every problem that you've had up to this point because you are still here. You are 100% successful at problem solving because you are still here. And the life you're trying to maintain didn't just get here by accident. That was you. You did that. And so, as you're thinking and you're assessing, think about what are the problems here that I need to solve. Okay. I like to say, if you can throw money at a problem and it solves the problem, throw money at the problem. But right now, we're talking about how we make sure we have money to solve problems. So the problems are a little bit different, right? The problems might be, I want to make sure that I have more money. So I might need to rework some investment portfolio strategies. I might need to think about, if I'm in a job that I love and I want to keep working at it, and I can ask for a raise, ask for stock options, negotiate for better pay, negotiate for less commute, which means I don't need that car, which is part of one of the buckets because I don't like driving anyway. You are in a position to be well qualified to solve the problem of your life because nobody else can solve them the way that you can because you've been solving them for quite a while. So you get clear on what it is that you need to solve to maintain or elevate your standard of living, and then you get help. You get help, right? And that help is comes in the form of asking, okay, what do I need? Do I need or do I want to maintain this? And if you don't, then you start cutting. You figure out this isn't the standard of life that I want, or I don't want to have it in this way. So what do I want to start changing? And you start changing that now so that in 30 years, you're not, this is not what I wanted anyway, right? If this is what I want, maybe I do need to up level my job. Maybe I need to take on more clients. Maybe it's time for me to write that book, right? Maybe there's so many other things that I could be doing or want to be doing that if I started doing them now in 10 years, in a decade, will put my life in a much different place. And if I reach out and say, hey, listen, I'm interested in going into doing this because I know that you do this. Can you help me? Find the people who are doing the thing, living the life that you want to be living, if it's not your own, and ask them to help you chart a course, make a plan, get in there. I have conversations with women, mostly women, who are in places or further along a journey that I'm on because I want help. I want to know how did you get there? Can you give me any tidbits? And to that conversation, I like to think that I bring a a wealth of my own experiences and information and knowledge and assets that helps them in some way. And that reciprocity of helping each other move down the path that we can't put a price on, right? The price of that is not going up or down because you can't put a price on that. So you figure out your resources, you figure out your assets, you decide what you want to do with them, and then you start working a plan. Because I'm also very clear that time, because of the time collapse that we are in, the culture is moving expeditiously faster. Excuse me, exponentially faster. And so waiting on what's around the bend is not an option. You just need to walk around the corner. You've got to walk around the corner. And the only way to walk around the corner is to get clear on the step in front of you, which is asking the question, what do you want to get? I wrote it down. What do you do now to get to where you want to be? What do you want to do now to get to where you want to be? And if where you want to be looks exactly like where you are right now, how do you keep this? What do you do now to make sure that you keep this version of reality for the rest of your life? For the rest of your life. Now, as I've said to you, I am team relocation. Find yourself a happy place, someplace else that allows you to breathe and release, and maybe not have to have so much money to maintain the same standard of living, not go someplace and colonize somebody's life and become the bad person, the bad immigrant. That's not what we're talking about because we don't do that around here. But going places where you are valued, where you can build a life, where you can maintain or sustain or even level up your current standard of living in a place where you can bring value as well, in a place where your dollars will help the community, in a place where your presence won't become a distraction from the people who built that country, right? Being a good steward of the resources of someone else's home so that as you are making it your home, you feel warm and accepted. There's so many places and so many stories of women who are doing that very thing. Now, you might be saying, but I can't leave. I can't leave the US. I can't move because I have parents, I have kids, I have this life, and I want this life. Okay, perfect. If you want to keep this life in this place, then you really want to crunch these numbers today. And you want to ask yourself very clearly, given the state of what's happening right now, how do I maintain this and make sure that I keep it safe, that I can keep a buffer around it, a moat, if you will, around this life so that the wolves are kept on the other side and I'm not 80 having to work at Walmart, right? Having to greet at Walmart, which nothing against the greeters at Walmart if that's where you have to work and if that's where you choose to shop. But I don't want to see you being a greeter at Walmart for any other reason other than you just wanted something to do. And because everything else in your life is fine, you're just kind of bored sitting at home. In which case, go be a docent at the museum. You'll have more fun. And it's way less drama, right? Go hold babies in the NICU, right? Go read stories at the library. leave the Walmart greeting to somebody else. I don't want to see our 80, 90-year-olds having to work because the price has gone so far up and everything that they relied on is gone. I want you to not get to that point. I want you to crunch the numbers. I want you to get your answers. I want you to figure out the plan. And on that note, I want you to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I greatly appreciate your time, your energy, and your attention. This has been a good conversation that we're having in my community. If you haven't joined us, join us on Tuesdays for a tea break where we hang out for about 30 to 45 minutes, just having good chit chat. Sometimes we talk about important stuff. We talked about the estrogen shortage that's happening right now, which is really a big deal for those of us who are going on our perimenopausal journey. But we have a lot of fun. And most importantly, it is a community of women supporting women, and being a place of social in the landscape of social media. So join us on Tuesdays live on YouTube and say hi, right? Also, this particular episode was sponsored by my new book coming out, Poisonous Playmates: The Relationships That Hurt You. Look for the link to that to open up in the next week or so. I'm so excited to put a new book out there. And this one I think is especially important as given the state of dating relationships and relationships in general these days. There are people out there who are not helping you in your pursuit of a better life, and I want you to get rid of them. I talk about this a lot. I've decided to put some of my thoughts into a book. So look for that to come out very soon. Thank you so much. It's Dr. Sasheen signing off. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.